What's up, y'all? OD here once again, aka Big Jake. We're going to do a quick overview on my Mac 2-star General and give you the rundown on how this thing runs. Let's get into it. So yeah, this is a Mac 2-star General. They have a 1-star, a 2-star, and they now have a 3-star. The top portion of this is 304 stainless steel. So it's very nice all the way around. You can see over here on the side, in the back. So it's a very nice setup. Casters on the bottom, which you can lock in case you don't want this thing to move around. 200 pounds, I believe, is what it weighs. Of course, just plug it in to the wall, and yeah, you're ready to go. All right, let's start with the hopper. We have a 20-pound hopper here. As you can see, you got the pellets in here. You might think 20 pounds isn't a lot, but it really just depends on how much your pellet smoker is using per hour. And I saw a review on this. Average temperatures, 250 degrees cooking temperature, you're going to use about 3/4 of a pound an hour. So you have well over 20 hours here of cooking time with one full hopper, which for me is definitely plenty. Mac is also the first company to introduce a trapdoor, or a door to get all your pellets out. I don't want to open this right now, but you just kind of twist this to the left. All the pellets will dump out, and again, Mac was the first company to do that. I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video because Mac is the originator of a lot of these cool little kind of add-ons that they have. Let's get into the lid here and kind of what's on the inside. That's how it opens. Your vents are over here on the side, which are kind of hard to see from here, but as you probably saw earlier, they're right there on the back. Mac has now moved their vents into the back of the unit. I'm not really sure why, maybe better airflow or something like that, but I have no problem with airflow on this thing. It holds temperature great. Probably plus or minus 5 degrees what the Pellet Boss reads, and that's because every pellet smoker needs to fluctuate in temp a little bit to get your pellets to smolder, and that's how you get your smoke. If your pellet smoker was right on, you wouldn't get any smoldering pellets, and you'd never get any smoke. So with the top rack and bottom rack, this is about 850 square inches of cooking surface, which is quite a bit. I can get 3 racks of spares on the bottom, 3 on top, so 6 racks total. You could probably do 2 large briskets, probably 8 pork butts, smaller pork butts, like 8-pound pork butts would probably fit on here. Also, there's another pellet smoker on the market today that kind of mimics this design. Mac kind of came up with this design with the higher hood so that you could fit things like, you know, turkeys in there sitting upright, chickens sitting upright, and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like on the inside. So this top grate just slides out like this, and you can completely pull it out. Then there's 2 grates on the bottom that completely come out. In fact, speaking of that, let's pull these out and get into the guts of the Mac 2-star. So here's what the inside looks like. This is your flame zone. As you can see, there are tiny little holes in the grease tray here. That way, when you crank this thing up to high, which I believe 450 is the highest setting, and then they have high. And I've actually never cooked it on high because I don't feel like I need to cook anything that hot. But I've cooked it at 450. Guys have put it on high and said, you know, the internal temperature goes up to about 500, 550 degrees, so it gets pretty hot. Here's where your thermocoupler is here in the corner, and one thing about Mac is the Pellet Boss reads the average temperature in the entire cooking area and base when it feeds pellets and your temperature on that. So if you want like an exact at the grate where your food is temperature, which a lot of people do, get, you know, like an external probe, and you know, you can fit it right through this mouse door here, and you can get an exact temperature on the grate. So this is what it looks like. There are flame zone covers that come with this, one for this side and one for this side. So you could be smoking on one side with the flame zone cover on and grilling on the other side with the flame zone cover off. I have lost those. I just went looking for them. I don't know what I did with them because I opted to buy, and this is an add-on accessory, the covered flame zone. So whenever I am grilling at high temperatures, I put this one in. Whenever I am smoking, I put this in. Okay, we're going to get way deep into the guts of this thing. Here's your heat deflector tray. This obviously comes out like this. And this is the old design. Mac now has a newer design for their newer Macs. And this, once again, on the burn pot here is another thing that Mac kind of invented. I don't think a lot of people, or anyone for that matter, had been doing this at this point, but there's just a pin here that pulls out, and this pulls out, and then you can dump all your ash out. Lots of pellet smokers and pellet companies out there have imitated a Mac, but you know, as they say, often imitated, never duplicated. That's kind of how I feel about these. Another cool thing that Mac invented is this is their flash fire ignition rod. This basically is made out of ceramic, as to where most ignition rods are made out of metal. So it will not break down quite as fast. The metal ones kind of eventually, after over time of being heated up over and over again, will basically break down. These will not. This one also gets to full temperature in, I believe, about 30 seconds, or at least under a minute, whereas most ignition rods take about 2 to 3 minutes. So it's much faster, it's much more durable, and they guarantee 90,000 starts with this, or 90,000 ignitions with this ignition rod here. So that's pretty cool. Another cool thing that Mac invented is this nice little trap door here on the bottom of the inside of the unit. You just open it like that, and you can brush out all of your dust and whatnot, debris. Just take a broom, kind of sweep it all over to here, open the door, and dust it all out. It's just that simple, and once again, something that Mac invented. All right, we move on to yet another cool thing that Mac invented on a pellet smoker. A cold smoking area. It's right here on the right. There are vents here, so you basically set your Pellet Boss over there to smoke, and then the smoke travels through the main chamber and then through these vents right here, and then you can smoke cheese, fish, nuts, all kinds of things. I've probably cooked hundreds of pounds of almonds, or smoked hundreds of pounds of almonds on this side smoker here. And yeah, it's just great. Great little additional tool if you want to do some cold smoking. All right, let's get into the techie part of it. This here is the Pellet Boss from Mac. This is their controller. The very cool thing about the Pellet Boss is Mac, as far as I know, is the only company that designs their own, basically, unit, their electronic unit or controller for their cookers. Most people use a PID or something to that effect. Mac made this all themselves. You can see it has an on and off. They were also the first people to put probe temps, or you know, places to put probes in anyways. Alright, I just fired up the Pellet Boss. As you can see, the set point is smoke, or at least hopefully you can see. Shadows are kind of weird out here this morning. So it gives you the set point and then the ignition temperature, which is 115, because it's hot out here. And plus this thing's already firing up, so it's getting hot. There's also a little A that you will see right there. That means that the auger is running. Again, hopefully you can see that. If not, I guess you're just going to have to trust me. This thing does all kinds of crazy cool things. You just kind of go in here. You can change your set point by 200 degrees, 200 degrees, 5 degree increments from smoke to 180, and then it goes all the way up to 450 and then to high. So that's where that's at. You can change loads of things. Probe 1 check, probe 2 check, probe 3 check. There's a timer to where it'll run to a certain point and then shut off. There's a timer to where it'll run to a certain point at a certain temperature, and it'll change temperatures for you, and then even shut off by itself if you want. You can program loads of things for this. You can get a Wi-Fi connection to your phone and control all of this from your phone. So once again, y'all, the overview of the Mac 2-Star General. One last thing I would like to say about it. This is not a new unit, which I'm sure some of you could probably see by the insides of it, but I know a lot of people get a new grill or a pellet smoker and they want to show it off, and they kind of do a review. And they don't kind of go over how well these things hold up. In fact, I'll put a link in the description for the video from when I bought it. But if you do some general cleaning on this thing, I've changed out a thermocouple and I changed out the igniter. And I really think that's it. So yeah, this is probably one of the more expensive units on the market, but you know, like they say, you get what you pay for. Yeah, it's a great unit. I love it. And if you guys have any questions about the Mac, hit me up, or I can get you in contact with the right people. Another great thing about Mac is it is American made. It's made out of Oregon, and when you call Mac Grills, somebody actually answers the phone and they will get you to the right person to get you your questions answered. So Mac is doing it right, y'all.